Hello and welcome to this video tutorial in Pro Tools looking at groups. To add a group so that you can control various different things including selection, or maybe you want to change all the levels or add a fade to all of them at the same time, you could do that in the groups. Remember, if this isn't showing here, it's just this little arrow at the bottom. So what we can do, say we wanted to group all of our drums together, so I'm just going to zoom out on these ones. I'll just switch that off. We can select all of these, just hold down the Shift key and go to the bottom one, which is this one, and that will select all of them, or you could select them in here and then press Command G. Or you can go into this one and go New Group, but I'll do Command G. Okay, so now we can call this one Drums, for example, and it allows you to set a group that will only work in the edit window or only the mix window or both. I have to admit I usually like to have both of them switched on, but that's completely up to you. Again, some people like to change this. The ID automatically comes up with A as your first one, B as your next one, etc. But some people like to go, well, this is D, so this is drums, so I'll have D. That's completely up to you. The ID doesn't usually bother me, but maybe it does for you, so that's an option you can do. Now, linked within the groups are the mutes and the solos, but you can switch those off. A lot of people do switch off the solos, so they just solo one at a time, but you've got the option there. And send mutes and levels as well, so if you had some sends on these channels, then it will do the same to all of those. Usually it's not something that you want, but again, the option is there. Say, for example, I didn't want one of these, so maybe I didn't want the kick. I can just click on it and remove it. And if I wanted it, I click on kick and click add. And they're the ones that I would like in this window. And then I just press OK. So now this drum group has appeared here. And if I go back over to the mix window, Command equals, we can see here these are all labelled drums, so 8 drums. And you can see which tracks are there and which attributes you're going to be using, and you can modify it if you want, duplicate it, delete it. So the options are all in there as well. So now if I wanted to change the level of all of these, increase them all a bit, I could just literally grab one and it will change it for all of them, which is quite a nice little feature to be able to do. And I can solo all of them, I can mute all of them. So there's a few different features that you can do. If I go back over to the edit window, so Command equals, then I could, for example, trim all of these the same. So we haven't got anything actually in on the drums until here. So using my trim tool, I could just trim all of those nicely like that, if that's what I wanted to do. And then, of course, I could add a fade to the beginning of all of them. Again, you would zoom in and do this properly, but I'm just trying to do it for demonstration purposes that you can use it all. If you want to disable the group, you just click on it again, and that will make it not play anymore. So now if I grab this track, it's all on its own. It's not part of the group. But then again, I could just quickly switch it on. Now, I'm going to make another group this time, but I'm going to do what I think are sort of the main instruments. So if you've got some selected and you want to unselect them, press Alt, by the way. So I'm just going to switch that drums off, and I'm going to go, well, the kick's useful, and if you hold down the command you can select different things. I'm actually going to jump over to this one, so maybe they're useful. Drums overhead, bass, let's have the guitar, just one of them, maybe the lead vocals, lead guitar and lead vocals, guitar 1. So say I wanted those ones selected, I can now go Command G for group, and I can go main instruments. And we'll leave it as B and this selected, so that's all okay. I can click OK. And what happens now is if I go over to the other window, so let's go over to Command equals. What happens is any that are in 2 different groups, so this one's got A and B, it will do a capital letter, so I'll just zoom in to make sure you can see that, so it's a capital letter here. Whereas, for example, this one is only related to the one group, so this is a lowercase letter. Again, this one's a nice big letter, so you can see that it's part of a couple of different groups. So if you see a capital, be careful because you've got more groups than just one. in there. So that's it for groups. It's nice and simple. You can do lots of different editing with them all at once. I do find the all very, very useful. If I wanted just to, move everything by a certain amount, for example, I could just grab it and move everything. Or if I wanted to trim at the beginning, I can do that. Remember, if you looked at the video on shuffle mode, that's a very useful feature to be able to trim everything. The one thing I would say about groups is just remember to switch it off, or it can get that you start editing something which you didn't mean to, so be careful with it. Okay, so groups, like I said, very, very useful, and see how you can use them in your work. Okay, thanks.